Have you ever thought to yourself, nobody understands what I'm feeling right now or what I'm going through? Well, that thought can actually make overcoming and conquering anxiety, depression, fear so much harder. But in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you how you can work to intentionally connect with others so that you can become more confident and more peaceful. My name is Melly Rentas. I'm a licensed therapist. I've been helping ladies for well over 15 years learn to manage their thoughts and take control of their life so they can live confidently and peacefully, happily, joyfully with the ones they love. In today's video, this is from a series of videos where I'm talking about how you can conquer fear, anxiety, worry, etc. with really prioritizing not only your mental health, but also your physical as well as spiritual health. So I'm going to jump right into the meat and potatoes, starting with body health. And I was reading a few research studies that talk about how much loneliness has a huge impact on our physical health. I'm going to reference my notes real quick to not misspeak, but it said that loneliness increases premature death by up to 26%, which is comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So let that sink in for a second. And then the second one that I thought was really interesting was that prolonged loneliness increases the risk of dementia by up to 40% as well. So you can see that there are very pertinent, real, significant health impacts, physical health impacts to being lonely. And so it's just all the more important for us to encourage one another to really go out there and take that risk, be comfortable with being uncomfortable, and finding and seeking out community and connection. So I just would like to really encourage you to make it a point, make it your goal this week to either reach out to a friend, research, find, or connect with a group within your city and state. I will link some of my favorite Christian women's groups in the description. A couple of those would be MOPS, MOPS, Moms of Preschoolers. They're an international, I think, or national organization. It's really great, especially if you've got babies, preschoolers. It's Moms of Preschoolers, but then they also have Moms Next for the moms with older kids. But they meet during the week for a few hours. They also have childcare. It's a very affordable group to join as well. They maybe charge $50 for the year. Don't quote me on that, but it's a very low cost group. And it's just such a wonderful blessing of a group. It is faith based, but it's not like thrown in your face kind of a faith. So if you're not really super religious or just kind of new to that whole thing, I think that this will be a really great stepping stone to connect with a community of women that is coming together to have fun. They do like crafts and things like that, but also they'll have days where there's meaningful discussion and connection and food and a bunch of fun stuff. So that's one group. They also have groups for older moms as well. They also have mentor moms for the moms that are much older who have maybe kids in middle, high school. So there's opportunities for any age to join. They also have activities in the evenings and weekends, depending on the group. So I would highly encourage that group. It was such a blessing for me when I became a mom, and I felt very lonely just because of like that transition for me. I left my job as a school counselor after having my son. Actually, I kind of went back to work for a few months and then quickly realized it just was not right for me. And so there was just so many changes all at once between being a new mom, having a baby, and leaving work, and just the sort of shift in what I thought was my identity. It was so closely linked to my profession and my work and my career, which in some ways I believe is really faulty because there's so much more to who we are and our identity than just like what we do or don't do. There's so much that I can touch on that maybe in another video, but just as an encouragement to you that, whether you're a new mom or not, if you're just in a season of life where things are changing and you're finding yourself really feeling lonely and disconnected from others, it's so important to picture yourself being intentional, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, and seeking out that connection for yourself. Another group that I want to mention real quick here is Bible Study Fellowship. That's a group that I'm still a part of to this day. And it's a wonderful, really in-depth Bible study. It's a bunch of women that come together to really dig into God's word and have amazing conversations. They also have childcare if you have children. And even if you homeschool, they have the Bible study that we do. The kids are doing too, sort of at their level. And it's just such a blessing and so wonderful. So, and that's completely free. So that's another wonderful group. Third suggestion would be to just connect with a local church in your area, get plugged into the women's group, the women, the women's ministry. Just take that leap of faith, especially if you're introverted. Don't use that as an excuse. Introversion is a thing that you do. It's not what you are. And just because you maybe lean towards being introverted doesn't mean that you have to be alone and lonely all the time. So something to think about. Before I wrap up that whole section, I really just want you to picture yourself within the next week taking that challenge, looking for a group, making the call, and being intentional about getting connected, finding that day and time that they meet, putting it in your schedule, and following through and showing up and just being there, just taking that first leap of faith and going. Now, the Bible talks so much about the importance of fellowship. I do have, I'm looking at my computer here, a couple scriptures that I wanted to share with you as an encouragement. Hebrews 10 verses 24 to 25 says, "And let us consider how to stir one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near." So that is basically saying, it's a call to the church to encourage each other, to uplift one another, to do good things with our life while we're here, kind of like what I'm doing here with you, encouraging you to get the most out of your life and to, break out of that loneliness cycle, and to also hold you accountable to not neglect meeting together with other people, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another all the more as you see the day drawing near. I think that that is alluding to, you know, we always say, that life is hard and the world is crazy and things seem to be getting worse and not better, whether we talk about financial issues, the economy, politics, social issues, religious issues. And that's all the more reason why we need to be plugged in and connected and equipped and encouraged and doing good works, not the reason to not do it. So just as an encouragement and as a reminder to you that God really does call us to fellowship. And I can't help but think of in Genesis, in the creation story, how everything God created was good. But the thing that was not good was for Adam or for man to be alone. That was like the first thing that they said was not good. And we can see, as I just shared with you, that that is so true. There's so much physical health consequences, mental and spiritual consequences that come from loneliness. So we got to take that seriously and make that effort to connect with others. The third and final thing that I want to touch on is your mindset. This is all related very much to practical help for improving your mental health. And what I would love for you to do right now is to just take a minute to imagine how much better your relationships will be when you deal with conflict or misunderstandings in a way that is calm and confident versus fearful and frustrated. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you have an unexpected financial emergency pop up, right? A lot of times people will think things like, oh my gosh, this is so stressful. I don't think we're going to ever recover from this financially. And then what is the emotional response to that? The idea is you have a thought, there's this situation that pops up. That's A. And then B is you have this thought like, oh my gosh, this is insane. We're not going to recover from this. And then C is the emotional response, right? Like what you feel about that. and what you do with that. So oftentimes, if you have that A, B situation that I just mentioned, the C is fear, panic, anxiety, stress, worry, maybe even, emotional withdrawal, separating from wanting to talk to your husband about the finances, not wanting to look at the bank account, not wanting to deal with it. And, or if you do deal with it, maybe exploding in anger and rage and frustration. And that is going to also have a negative impact on your stress and your body. Our blood pressure goes up, pulse goes up when we're stressed out and full of anger or fear. And then, people don't really want to be around us because we have that lack of control. So imagine instead if you were able to kind of reprogram that whole situation as much as you can, because bad things will happen, right? The Bible doesn't tell us that bad things will never happen. It says that all those things will work together for good. God can make beauty from ashes. He can make something incredible happen out of something incredibly bad in our eyes and stressful. And so the way that we can react more calmly, if that's our goal, so that we have thriving relationships, whether it's with our spouse, friends, family, children, etc., is to recognize that when those stressful situations happen, we can take our thoughts captive and make them more aligned with not only what's rational, but what's true. And the more we